What's going on? What's going on, everyone? Coach Derica here. Hopefully, my phone is dead. That's what happens when you are an entrepreneur and you work from your phone and you got a lot of phone calls to make and all that type of stuff. You find yourself with your phone being dead, and my phone is currently dead. So, hopefully, as you jump on here, you can let me know that you can hear me. I'm hoping that this chat thing works with this app that I'm using, Restream. I pretty much love the app, but it's kind of difficult to see when someone comments until after I get off. So if you are able to comment, please let me know that you can see me and that you can hear me, because I do not have my phone to double check to make sure that I can hear myself. But I'm going to carry on as if you can hear me. So hopefully you guys can hear me. If you can, again, please let me know that you can hear me and that you can see me. So today, I'm not going to be before you all very long. I'm a little bit later today. That's why I didn't set a specific time that I would do these lives, because as an entrepreneur, one thing that I have discovered in these last several years is that it's important to have a productivity calendar. It's important to have some type of a schedule, some type of ideal of the things that you want to accomplish in each day. And which brings me to my next point. I want to talk a little bit today, and I'm not going to be before you all very long, but I want to talk a little bit today about when we think we heal and when we think we're good, and how the enemy will come and surprise you with a sneak attack. And because you thought you were good, and because you thought you forgave, and because you thought you had matured, and because you thought you was wiser, you wasn't prepared for that attack. I want to share this with you because it happened to me. Okay. There was a period of time, I want to say about a couple of years ago, and I had thought that I had done the work. I thought that I was prepared, right? I thought I was ready to go in the ring. I thought that I had forgave who I needed to forgive. I thought I had the knowledge that I needed to have, the wisdom that I needed to use. I really thought that I had everything figured out, until situations started to arise that began to test me in different ways, and I didn't know how to respond. And because of the fact I didn't know how to respond, I ended up resorting back to some old ways that I maybe had used in the past and different things like that. And the thing about it is that when you think you heal and you think you're good, and you discover that you really are not, and that you're not finished, and there's some things that you still need to do, it can really set you back a little bit. It can really set you back. For me, it set me back a little bit. When I give you an example, if you've ever been in a relationship with someone, and it wasn't a very good relationship, and then you end the relationship, and you're supposed to take time to be on your own and go through the process of the grieving process, as I talked about. You have to go through the grieving process, and say you decide that you want to jump from that relationship and go into another relationship, but you didn't take time to heal from the previous relationship's wounds, right? Well, what ends up happening is that, especially if you are a person who has dealt with past trauma or past situations, or have trust issues, okay, then what's going to end up happening is you are going to end up making that new person pay for what that old person did. Okay. Now, even though the old person was not who you were supposed to be with, they weren't for you, they still was a recipient of your wounds. They still was a recipient of your wounds. And then so what ends up happening is that now you're bugging out. Okay. Now remember I talked about the filtering process. Now you have the filtering process taking place. So you misunderstand what someone was saying. And so now it's an argument. Now you're ready to argue. Now you blaming everybody. Everybody's out to get you. Okay. And it's everybody's fault but yours. And so when you start to discover that there's a little bit too much chaos, and you're starting to have situations happen a little too often, it's time for you to step back and remove yourself from the equation and ask God, hey, look, there's something you're trying to tell me, because, this stuff keeps happening over and over again. So for me, what I had to do is, I was in that relationship. I got out of the relationship. I thought that I had forgiven him, and I thought that I was over it, because I took some time to be single, got back in church, all the things that we typically do. Okay. Started working on my weight, all the things that we typically do, right? Feeling myself, okay? Doing self care. Thought it was self love, but it was self care because there's a difference between self care and self love. And a lot of people don't understand that, but there really is a difference between self care and self love. So I was doing a whole lot of self care, thinking that it was me being showing that I loved myself, but it wasn't. It was just me showing that I could care for myself. I could take care of myself externally, but I was really hurting internally. So, with that aspect, what ended up happening is I ran into him again, and he was in a new relationship. And when I tell you it crushed me, it broke me down. Oh my goodness, I couldn't believe it. In the back of my mind, I was thinking, surely he's going to regret what he did to me. Surely he's going to have some woe is me days because he did me so bad, you know. Surely, okay, he wouldn't jump from one relationship to the next. Surely he wouldn't do that. And then when I seen it, I was like, wow, like, how can you even do that? Did you even really love me? Did you even really care? And this can apply, with any situation, honestly, like how you rebound like that. And so, see, what I had to understand is that I truly had not forgiven him. I truly had not moved on. I truly had not taken time to heal the wounds that were caused in that relationship. How do you know that your wounds are healed? When you can carry on a conversation. I ain't talking about a bestie, best friend type of conversation, because one thing you have to understand, there's certain lines that people cross that may remove them from an opportunity to be your close person again. I don't know if you ever watched Grey's Anatomy years ago when it first came on. You had Christina and Meredith. They called each other's persons. You are the person I go to. So that in that relationship, he was my person. Okay. But here's the thing, there's certain lines that your person cannot cross, because when your person crossed those lines, sometimes you can't come back. When you burn those certain bridges, sometimes those bridges can't be rebuilt. And the problem with a lot of people is that they think that, okay, because they have crossed the line and you cannot rebuild that bridge, that means that you have a right to hate them. It does not mean that you have a right to hate them. It does not mean that you have a right to be evil and try to fight fire with fire. That is not what that means. It is okay to forgive someone without expectation of rebuilding a relationship with them. It is okay to forgive someone without the expectation of talking to them ever again. It is okay to forgive someone without the expectation of them ever apologizing to you, because people will act like they never did anything wrong, and they know subconsciously they know that they did. Okay, so for me, I used to think that forgiveness also meant excusing. And I had to learn that forgiveness did not mean excusing. Forgiveness is something that you do without expectation. You forgive without expectation. That means that no matter what you have done to me or said to me or whatever the case may be, I forgive you. Because, see, the person that's being done wrong by harboring those feelings is myself. I'm doing myself more harm than good by trying to hold on to that energy. Do you realize that it takes more energy to hate someone than it does just to let it go? And I think that people believe, like really truly believe, that forgiveness equates to making it what they did okay. What they did may not have been okay, and it may never be okay. And you have the permission as a human being, okay, as a king or queen that you are, to make the decision if that person will ever be allowed into your safe space again. Because we all have to protect our safe space, not build walls, okay? Not build walls, but we have to guard our heart. The Bible talks about guarding our heart. Doesn't mean that we're supposed to put up walls and never be vulnerable, okay? Because when you're walking around like that, then you are not letting anything in. And more than likely, you're not even letting God's love in. He loves you regardless, but you're not going to experience that reciprocation when you're too busy trying to guard yourself to stop you from being hurt. There's a difference. There's a different type of guarding. Okay. I did that as well too. Got nowhere. Got nowhere. Because inside, everything I was trying to build walls around to protect my heart, I was still hurting inside because I was building so many walls around. So you have to be careful with forgiveness because it's not worth it. Trust me when I say it's not worth trying to harbor grudges. It's not worth trying to harbor bad energy for someone. It's not worth trying to harbor hate for someone. It's just not worth it. You know, one thing that has helped me in my process of healing, in the process of forgiving people, one thing that has helped me is I say, you know what? Hurt people do hurt people. Okay, hurt people do hurt people. And that person has a lot of healing that they need to do. So they did the best that they know to do where they're at in their walk. Okay. And that's one thing that helped me. That's one thing that really truly helped me. I can't get upset at someone totally, okay, because wrong is wrong, but I can't get upset of someone totally if it was a situation where I knew what type of individual he was or she was, whatever situation that applies to your life, okay? I knew what type of individual they was, okay? But I ignored the signs. I ignored the red flags. I ignored the discernment that the Holy Spirit convicted me on. That's not the person for you. I ignored it. Why? Because I didn't want to be alone. Because deep inside, I felt like I had to do it with someone. I felt like I couldn't do it by myself. I wasn't good enough to do it by myself. I wasn't smart enough to do it by myself. I wasn't equipped enough to make it on my own. Okay. So because of that, I ignored all the signs. And there always are signs. There always are signs. You cannot tell me that there are not signs. There's always signs that what you're about to do is not good. We just don't want to hear it. Because once we make our mind up, that's what happens when you're operating out of God's will. Because when you make up your mind, He will try to let you know. Okay, but He's not going to interfere. He's not going to interfere. So the thing that I had to understand was that, okay, Derica, so you're not really healed. You thought you were, but you're not really healed. And one thing you have to understand is that when you finally say, you know what, I'm not going to spend any more time, I'm not going to spend any more energy feeling some type of way about anybody. Why? Because I matter more. I matter more. My health matters more. Me being stress-free matters more. Me not being hateful and evil and nasty matters more. Me sitting here not holding a grudge matters more. You cannot let anything or anyone stop you from your relationship with God. You put a wedge between you and Him when you over here on Sunday, holier than now, and then on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you acting like the devil. Now, nobody's perfect. Don't get me wrong, because I am far from perfect. Okay, I'm definitely with error, but every day I work hard to be better than I was yesterday, and that's what we have to do. That's what we have to do. My goal now is to eliminate as many excuses from my life as they can. Because even though excuses may be a reason, it may be a legitimate excuse. Everybody's excuse is a legitimate excuse. But I realized I had no excuse to not heal. I had no excuse to not do what I needed to do to be the best version of myself. And that's a daily walk. Because if you think for 1 minute that once you let go of that depression and once you snap out of that whatever it is, the fear, the rejection, the feelings of abandonment, once you snap out of that, okay, and you turn it over to God, if you think for 1 second that the enemy is not going to try to throw stuff at you to make you crawl back in that hole that you worked hard to get out of, you are sadly mistaken, my friend, because he is always going to try. As long as he feels like he can come back and get you back in that same hole that you was in before where he had you all to himself, he's going to keep trying to do that. And so when I began to think, you know what, they ain't worth it. They ain't worth it. They ain't worth it. And honestly, I shouldn't even allowed myself to be in that situation in the first place. So, hey, if I need to blame someone, I can just blame myself. I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have been in that situation. Period. Okay. You know what? I forgive them. And guess what's most important? What's most important is that you forgive yourself. You forgive yourself. I had a hard time doing that. I said I did it, and I thought I did until another situation come up. And I seen that my reactions to the situation were not changing. It wasn't changing. And that was letting me know I still clearly had some work to do. It wasn't until my responses to situations began to change that I started to say, "Oh wow, okay, I'm getting better at this. Okay, wow, that's really good." Or when you see them and you like, "Cool, okay, hey, what's up? You good? Okay, I'm good too. Let's keep it moving. Have a great day." And that's when I realized that I finally understood what forgiveness felt like, because we can understand what forgiveness is, but it's different when you understand what it feels like. Because when you actually forgive without expectation, you're not even concerned about them having remorse. You're not even concerned about getting revenge. You're not even concerned about letting them know that you're mad. You really don't care anymore because you've done what the most important thing is to your soul, your life, your future, your success. You have forgiven without expectation. That means that no matter what they do or what they say or what they don't do or what they don't say does not matter, because you have done what you needed to do. You have done what you needed to do. And in the process of healing, it is very, very crucial to make sure that the things you going through, like, look, I used to, when a few years ago, when I thought I understood this healing thing, and I really didn't understand all that I thought I understood, right? And I still don't know everything. I just know what worked for me. Okay. When I thought that I had it down, I understood that I had to feel it, right? I understood I had to feel it. Lord have mercy. Oh, God is so good. Whoa, Jesus. So I thought I had to feel it. So you know what I used to do? I used to set the stage, y'all. I used to set the stage, okay? I'm laughing now. I'm laughing at myself. Oh, Jesus. So I would go get me a bottle of wine, right? I would put on that R&B music, okay? And I would sit there and let the music play and just cry my eyes out and put on those women empowerment songs. I'm a survivor. All that type of stuff. That's what I would do. That's what I would do. And I thought I was getting somewhere. Can I let y'all in on a little secret? I wasn't getting anywhere. I wasn't getting anywhere. And the reason why I was feeling so good, because I was tipsy. That's why I was feeling so good, because I was tipsy. Y'all, look. And the enemy was probably like, this fool, she really thinks she doing something. That's all right. I'm gonna come and visit her tomorrow and hit her back with it. Boom. And it never felt that's what he would do. And so finally I realized, okay, there's something missing here. And what was missing was God. That's what was missing. I thought I had that relationship. I thought I had that connection. I thought that we were good. But I really, honestly, just like I built up walls to keep me protected from other people, I also viewed God as, I knew God loved me and I knew God had grace and mercy, because there were so many situations that I probably shouldn't even be here, right? And so I knew all that, but it's different again when you know it, but you actually feel it. And for me, I didn't feel it because I wasn't spending enough personal, true time with God, right? It was surface level. It was surface level. Yeah, I would pray periodically, but I didn't have a prayer life. It's a difference. I would read the Bible, but I wouldn't study the Bible. It's a difference. You see what I'm saying? I would go to church, but I would get hyped up. And then after I left church, it's back to the same old routine. So I didn't really know what having a personal, true healing relationship with Christ was like. I didn't know what that felt like, because as an adult, we have to develop our own relationship. You can borrow someone's faith for a little while, but at some point in time, you got to get your own faith. You got to have your own relationship. Because if you are not willing to do the work, when you know, I'm telling you right now, you've got to do the work, and it's possible. It's not easy, but it won't kill you. You can do it. You can do it. I believe in you. I believe in you. And so I know that it can be done because I've done it. Now, are there still things that I'm still working through? Yes, of course. There's going to be things I'm probably going to be working through all my life. I'm 44 years old now. Okay, we're talking about a lifelong of this stuff. But man, when you start making breakthroughs, you start feeling real good about yourself, and it starts to let you know that you can really do all things through Christ, where your strength comes from. You really start to believe that. You really start to feel that. And when you start to feel that, it's amazing the type of things that he begins to do in your life that you actually begin to see. And the beautiful thing about it is that he will place people in your life to show you how to have a better relationship with him. He will place people in your life that will show you how to look at things differently. Because, see, when you have been a victim in different situations for so many years of your life, you always tend to what they did to me, right? So you have to be very, very careful with that, especially when you're trying to have a relationship with God, because you'll end up looking at God as the enemy. Oh man, I did something wrong. He's going to whip me. That's what you become accustomed to. I was accustomed to getting a whooping. Okay, because we got beat. That's what I came. That's the generation I came from. Beat first, ask questions later. That's the generation I came from. I wasn't the only one. Other kids my age had it too. And so because of that generation, that's the way I viewed God. That's the way I view God. Oh God, I did something bad. He's going to whip me. Oh man, he's going to whip me. God, I'm in trouble. Can you help me? You got to be careful with that type of relationship with God, because if you look at God that way, as he's only a punisher and he's only someone who's there to whoop you and hang you and all those types of things, you'll miss how much love he has for you. You'll miss what he wants to do in your life. You'll miss how he wants to comfort you and how he wants to heal you and how he wants to elevate you out of that hole that you're in. You'll miss that. You'll think you have to be depressed. You'll think you have to always feel rejected. He'll let you know that you're not rejected, you're accepted, because I created you. I knew what I was doing when I created you. It doesn't matter. When you have a true relationship with him, you stop looking for people to give you a pat on the back and validate you. You just step out there and do what you got to do, and then just watch him put the pieces to the puzzle together for you. He will give you the healing, but you got to really be willing to surrender. You can't hold on to it. You got to let it go. It's okay to let it go. If you need someone to give you permission, I'm giving you permission. It's okay for you to let it go. You do not have to keep holding on to that, because see, what happens is you set yourself up for it. Okay, you wake up and you don't. I woke up today and I wanted to just go on and just sleep the whole day away. I'm be honest with you. Today was one of those days I woke up. Okay, I am still so happy and grateful that I never have a sick day in my life ever. Okay, you see what's in my ear though, right? And even though I'm dealing with different types of those types of situations, annoyances, inconvenience, nuances, all those types of things, I still have to keep moving, because I'm in a position now, I'm in a mindset now where I realize that I have to be diligent every day in the things that I have to do. Okay. Now, am I going to say that? Let me say this. I want you to understand that it's okay to feel, because I always thought that wasn't okay. I always thought that wasn't okay. Again, coming from a generation where you don't know that was a sign of weakness. What? So I learned how to internalize everything. But boy, if we could be turned inside out as far as what we thought about ourselves and our emotions, and we could be turned inside out, and you could see a painting of what we look like, what we thought about ourselves. If we was turned inside out, oh my God, what would you look like? What would you look like? Like, I used to paint And I really actually had a gift. Like, I don't even think I can do it anymore, honestly. I really don't have the desire to. But I used to paint and draw, and it was an outlet for me. And I remember my art teacher telling me, I remember she telling me it's kind of dark. I mean, it's good, but it's kind of dark. But that's how I was feeling internally. That's how I was feeling internally. So I know if I was turned inside out at that point in my life, everything would be dark. Everything would be dark because that's how I viewed myself. That's how I viewed myself. That's how I seen myself. That's how I seen my worth. But now you'll see some darkness, but you're going to see a whole lot of rays of sunshine. And I feel good about it. And I'm glad about it because, see, here's the thing. I have spent most of my life searching for validation, wanting someone to give me permission, wanting someone to tell me that I'm okay and I'm this and I'm that. And yeah, for the most part, I have had a lot of that, periodically in different times, different places, different people, different situations. But I couldn't receive it because I did not believe it. But when I began to understand that I don't need anybody to validate me, I'm a child of God. That already qualifies me. Like, am I tripping? Like, really? I'm a child of God, right? And so when I begin to understand that, I begin to allow God to go back. And I had to go back to that little girl, that little Derica that was still sitting there hurt, broken, wound, bruised, and all that stuff. I had to. I mean, not physically, but you know what I mean. I had to give her permission to develop. I had to give her permission to heal. I had to give her permission to breathe. I had to give her permission to live. I had to give her permission to be free. Because for me, I stopped, as I talked about before, I stopped, I froze. And so a lot of times when you would when you act out as an adult, especially if your trauma for you started as a child, when you act out as an adult, you'll sometimes find yourself conducting yourself like a grown child because you don't know how to process that. You don't know how to respond to that. So in a lot of ways, you flipping out, but you acting like a child, and people around you like, what in the world? And the sad thing is that I realize is that so many people do it and don't even realize it. And people in their life are scared to tell them because they don't want to be attacked. They're so unapproachable that people are scared to tell them the truth. That was my children. Because of the fact that my mood swings would come and go and they didn't know what kind of mood I was going to be in that day. Does that sound familiar for those of you who have read my book? Does that not sound familiar? That's what I was doing when I was a little girl. I didn't know how my dad was going to feel that day. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what it was going to be like. So I was scared to say anything or do anything or react because I didn't know what kind of mood he was going to be in. I ended up doing the same thing, unconsciously doing the same thing. And then I became conscious of it. And when I became conscious of it, I was able to start doing the work to fix it. So the other day when I brought my girls on, they, even though they said, Mom, you put us on the spot, we didn't know what to say. I know the conversations that I had with them. And when you are at a point where you're admitting your wrongs and things like that, you're not always looking for them to say, oh, it's all good, it's good, it's okay. You're getting it off your chest. You're getting it off your chest. You're letting yourself know, and you're holding yourself accountable, and you're saying, it was never my intention to ever make you feel like you couldn't talk to me. It was never my intention to make you feel like if you said something to me about something that you was feeling that I didn't agree with, that you felt like I would, fuss at you or yell at you or ground you or whatever. It was never my intention to be a parent that was unapproachable. That was never my intention because I know what that felt like. And so when you begin the process of healing, you not only have to forgive people, but you have to go to people that need to forgive you. And even if they don't forgive you, you know that you've done your part. You know that you've done your part. You've said your piece and you've turned it over to God and you've moved forward with your life. What they do with it is not your business. Okay? What they do with it is not your business. But you at least have to give them an opportunity to know that you are aware. That's if you really want true healing. That's if you really want true healing. That's if you're really ready to keep it authentically real. That's if you're really ready to accept your good, your bad, and your ugly. That's if you're really ready to turn the tables and have the arrow point at you. And see, that's the part where people stop. How do I know? Because I did that. That's the part when people stop. But when you are at a point where you don't want anything or anyone to stop you from being able to be the best version of yourself, you turn that table and you allow it to turn. You don't try to stop it. You don't block it off. You turn that table and you let God truly show you that reflection in the mirror. Not what you think you are, not who you think you're, not what you think you see, but who you really are. Because see, if you go through life always thinking and pretending that you're this way, but you're really that way, how are you going to become your true authentic self when you're always playing make believe? You live in a lie. You live in a lie. And so when you make up your mind and you make the decision that you're truly, like, I'm truly ready to heal, God, like for real, I'm telling you, you start to find things that you struggled with for so many years. You start to find them become like feathers. Emotional eating. Like, I realized I was doing that because of my emotions. That's why it's called emotional eating. Yeah, sure, I knew it, but I just thought that it was something I do. But now you begin to become aware, because what happens is every time you remove something, every time you give it to God, let me put it this way. Every time you give it to God and allow him to rip it up out the soil by the root, right? By the root, then he is able to fill in those gaping holes. He's able to fill them in, because see, what happens is when we try to do it without him, okay, we leave stuff behind and then it starts festering and blistering and then it gets infected, and then now it's infected. So now it's going to start polluting another area. And now that gets infected. So now it's going to start polluting another area. That's what we do when we try to do it without God. That's how it works. And that's what I tried before. I tried to do it. And what I ended up doing was all surface level healing. Surface level healing, subcutaneous. I didn't even get down to the real meat and bones. Okay. But when you let God do it and you do what you got to do, but you let God do what he do best, he will rip those things up from the root. He will rip them up from the root. And that's when you'll see when he talks about he'll restore all the years that the locust took from you. That's when you start to see those things begin to happen, because you thought that you was only dealing with generational curses. That's what you thought. That's what the enemy wanted to make you believe. But when you allow God to take you back to that little girl or that little boy and start pulling up those things by the root, that rejection turns into acceptance. That abandonment turns into feeling welcome. Okay, that anger turns into kindness. All those things that were down that road, the whole road you've been traveling your whole entire life, it starts to get rearranged. It starts to, your perception, your filters start to fall off. So you don't have to go through all these filters for you to believe that you truly are worthy, that you truly are an heir to a throne, that you truly are good, that you truly are these things that God says you are. You don't have to go through that. And then what ends up happening is the enemy tries to come and remind you of the rejection and the abandonment, the abuse, the this, the that, all of that stuff he want to come and try to remind you of. And all you really got to do is just let him know, because see, the thing is that you have to understand, these are inherited blessings. These are inherited blessings. You're inherited royalty. Okay. So don't ever make him let you think that you have no right to it, that you can't claim it. It's yours. It's yours. But the problem is that those generational seeds that have passed from one generation to the next generation to the next generation to the next generation and so on and so forth, no one really knew what healing looked like. So they only, most generations, at least the one that I came from, what you did is you provided, you kept a roof over their head, food in their belly, clothes on their back. That is what the generation I came from. That was considered normal. I thought that was normal. That was normal. But it wasn't until we all started sprouting out with all these, we start to understand, oh, there got to be a little bit of love, not love, because my parents love me. A little bit of emotion attached to that, a little bit of emotion, a little bit of, maybe I do need to do a little bit of, explaining on why these things, because what ends up happening is if you don't have an environment where you learn how to express yourself and you learn how to heal and you learn how to feel things, that it's okay to feel things, then you will always go through your life until you recognize what's going on. You will be a person that internalizes everything. You'll be a person that takes baggage from one relationship to the next relationship, from one job to the next job. What your boss did to you 5 years ago, the boss that you have now, if he does something even similar, displays a similar characteristic, you're going to think that it's your boss from 5 years ago. That's the filter. That's the filtering process. So when you go through and you let God start to rip those things up by the root, that's when you start to get effective change. That's when you start to stop feeling so sorry for yourself all the time. You stop feeling so depressed all the time. You stop feeling so anxious all the time. You stop feeling so ready to attack all the time. People who are always ready to attack and cut somebody smooth out, those people have some things that need to be healed. Those people have some things, there are some deep wounds within you that need to be healed, really need to be healed. And until you allow God to do that and trust him that he can do that for you, you're going to keep feeling sorry for yourself. You're going to cut somebody smooth out. Next thing you know, you're like, dang, man, I shouldn't have done that. You're right. You shouldn't have done that. That should not have been your reaction. And see, what happens is that you turn from being a reactor to a responder. There are some scenarios that require us to be reactors, but there are also some scenarios that require us to be responders. Jesus responded. He responded. We have to make sure that we know the times when we're supposed to be a reactor, and we also know the times when we need to be a responder. And just understand that there is a difference between superficial healing and deep healing. Deep healing is the healing that you do alongside God. Deep healing is when you allow God to rip things up by the root. Deep healing is when you allow him to fill those gaping holes with clean, positive, good things, the things that maybe you were missing. Because that's what I had to do. I was missing feeling worthy, and he had to remind me that I am worthy. I was missing identity, and he had to remind me of who I was and whose I was. I was missing feeling like I knew how to love myself, and he had to show me how he loved me. I was missing feeling like I wasn't alone, and he had to show me that I really wasn't. So there was a lot of things that I was missing. And once he began to fill in those pieces and those wounds for me, I started to look at life a lot differently. And I started to say that, and I've said a post about this before, that life stopped happening to me and life start happening for me. That's the difference. So that is your goal, my friends. You want life to stop happening to you, because when life is happening to you, that's the victim mindset. Am I taking away or trying to diminish anything that you've been through? Absolutely not, because I wouldn't want nobody to do that to me. Okay. But understand that you are not what you've been through. You are not what you've done. You are not where you've been. What you are is you are blessed. What you are is you are loved. What you are is you are enough. What you are is accepted. And you have to remind yourself of that each and every day. You don't just do the deep healing and then just go away and think it's all good and it's never going to creep back up. There's still days where the enemy tries to come and shift my mindset into a dark place and remind me of what I used to do. But I have to be very, very careful about the things I listen to, the type of music I listen to, the type of movies I watch, because those types of things, those will bring those familiar spirits. And it's easier for us to go back to those familiar spirits than it is to learn a new way of thinking and a new way of being. So I had to protect myself in that form too. There's certain type of conversations I can't have anymore. There's certain type of movies I won't watch. There's certain type of music I don't want to listen to. I don't, and I won't. And the reason why is because those types of things have familiar spirits. Do you understand what I'm saying? Those types of things have familiar spirits for me. They may not have familiar spirits for someone else, but for me they do. And until I know that I'm at a point where I am conscious enough to and discerning enough to not be tempted to fall back into some old stuff, some old habits, I have to be sure to guard my heart, not build barricades around it, but guard my heart. It's not for everyone. It's not for everyone. And that was my issue. I tried to give everyone my heart and then wonder why it got band-aids all over it, because everybody ain't supposed to have your heart. And that's just the fact of the matter. And everybody don't deserve your heart. And that's just the fact of the matter. Period. I hope you guys have a good evening. It is 8:30 p.m. and I still need to eat dinner. How about that? That's the kind of day I have, but I am grateful. Okay? I am grateful for the day I had. So very grateful. But I'm about to go eat dinner and take a shower and get myself ready to lay down and schedule my post for tomorrow and do whatever else I need to do. But you guys have a wonderful, wonderful evening. Please make sure that you understand and realize that even when you're in a situation and you may feel it, Stanicia did a live today, you can't stay in it. You can't stay in it. You can't stay in it. You got to keep it moving. It's like a rebound. You got to catch the ball goes up, but when it come down, you got to rebound. You got to catch it. Okay? You can't let it hit the ground. You got to catch it. So understand that you don't have to be in this situation. You don't have to feel this way. You don't have to stay in it. It's not you. You don't have to own it. Okay. You honor it for that moment and then you keep it moving and you go through the process that you need to go through. But there is hope and there is healing. It's not just for one person here and one person there. It's for everyone that want it. All right. I will talk to you guys soon. Have a good night. Bye.